I get it. You've probably spent a few evenings scrolling through endless CNC listings, wondering if you'll finally find a machine that actually lets you move from hobby-level dabbling to making decent-looking parts without blowing your budget. The fear of dropping a few $100 on a router that can't handle the kind of material you need, or that will spend more time tripping over calibration than actually cutting, is real. And if you're sitting there thinking, is this the one that will finally let me engrave a curved metal badge for my shop? Or am I just buying another piece of metal that will sit idle? That's exactly the doubt I'm trying to clear up today. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The FoxAlien Z Pro is marketed as a 3-axis CNC router with a NEMA 23 4th-axis rotary engraving module, which sounds like a mouthful, but it basically means you get a fairly solid 3-dimensional carving machine plus an add-on that can spin a workpiece for engraving around a cylinder. That's the kind of combo you usually have to buy separately, a base router and then a pricey rotary attachment. The fact it comes as a bundle is where a lot of the value claim comes from, especially if you already have a need for both flat surface routing and cylindrical engraving. Let's start with the type of person who will actually benefit from this setup. If you're a small shop maker, a jewelry designer, or a hobbyist who wants to produce things like personalized bottle openers, custom signage, or even small wooden toys with intricate 3D relief, the Z Pro hits a sweet spot. The 3 ball screws on the X, Y, and Z axes are 1204 size, which is a step up from the cheap threaded rods you see on entry-level kits. Ball screws reduce backlash and give you a smoother, more repeatable motion, important when you're trying to get tight tolerances on a gear housing or a dovetail joint. The included 3 spindle clamps let you swap between different spindle sizes without needing a separate tool, which speeds up changeovers when you move from a 1mm engraving bit to a 6mm end mill. The 4th-axis rotary module is where things get interesting for anyone needing to work on curved surfaces. The NEMA 23 stepper motor is closed loop, which means it monitors its own position and can correct missed steps on the fly. That's a nice safety net if you're cutting something like a metal ring or a wooden dowel. If the motor skips a step, the controller will notice and pause, preventing a botched cut. The rotary unit also includes an industrial-grade harmonic reducer with a 10:1 ratio, giving you enough torque to turn heavier workpieces without stalling. In practical terms, you could mount a small cylinder of aluminum and engrave a logo around its circumference in one smooth pass, something that would be a nightmare with a manual chuck. Now, where the machine might fall short. First, the overall footprint is roughly the size of a compact desktop printer, which is fine for a garage bench but could be tight in a cramped workshop. The frame is made from aluminum extrusion, which is sturdy enough for most wood and plastic projects, but if you push into harder metals like stainless steel, you'll notice vibration at higher spindle speeds. The included spindle itself isn't specified beyond the clamps, so you'll likely need to upgrade to a higher RPM, higher power spindle if you intend to cut metal aggressively. That extra expense can push the total cost beyond the budget-friendly label that the bundle tries to claim. Another practical consideration is the software side. FoxAlien bundles a basic control interface that works fine for simple cuts, but it isn't as polished as the more expensive proprietary packages you see on industrial CNCs. You'll spend a bit of time learning code basics or importing your designs from Fusion 360 or similar CAD tools. If you're a total beginner, the learning curve isn't insurmountable, but you should be prepared to watch a few tutorial videos and tinker with feed rates before you get clean, repeatable results. The good news is that the community around these machines is fairly active, and you'll find plenty of free profiles for common materials like MDF, acrylic, and soft aluminum. Let's talk money. The Z Pro bundle usually lands in the $900 to $100 range depending on the retailer. Compare that to buying a separate 3-axis router and a dedicated rotary axis. Those can easily total $1,500 or more, especially when you factor in a decent spindle. For a maker who needs both capabilities and is comfortable with a bit of DIY setup, the bundle gives you a lot of hardware for the price. If you only ever plan to cut flat panels, you're probably overpaying for the rotary add-on you'll never use. Conversely, if you're mainly interested in engraving cylindrical objects but rarely need the full 3-axis travel, you might be better off with a dedicated 4-axis mini router that's cheaper and lighter. A real-world scenario. Imagine you run a small online shop making custom wooden watches. You need to cut the watch face, carve a tiny